Hey guys, Firuz here from Inside Realty, and today I'm going to talk to you about mortgages and everything related to mortgages in the UAE, specifically in Dubai, and cover all the frequently asked questions that we get from our clients. If I'll miss anything, you are more than welcome to write in the comments or ask us directly about anything related to UAE real estate and mortgages in particular in this case. So the first question that I want to start with, and this is a question that we get asked a lot, is can a non-resident get a mortgage in UAE? And the answer to that is, of course, yes. Even if you're not a resident in the UAE, you can get up to 50, sometimes 60% of the property price mortgaged. All you need to do is to meet certain eligibility requirements set out by local banks. However, if you are a resident, you can get up to 80% of the property price financed, and usually the interest rate for your mortgage is going to be slightly lower, but I'm going to get into details of that. First of all, let me tell you about the types of mortgages available in the UAE. So we have two types of mortgages available for consumers. One is a conventional mortgage, and the second one is an Islamic mortgage. So what's the difference between the conventional mortgage and Islamic mortgage? The main difference is that during the period of your mortgage, if it's a conventional mortgage, then the property belongs to you and the mortgage is registered under this property with a specific bank. In the case with Islamic mortgage, the property belongs to the bank and you supposedly rent the property from the bank during your mortgage tenure. And once you pay off the mortgage, obviously you get the property transferred to you in your title deed. That is the main difference. In my opinion, it is just down to personal preference. If you have certain religious requirements that do not allow you to go for a conventional mortgage, then obviously a Sharia compliant mortgage is a great option in that case. Now let's talk about the eligibility, what you need to do to be eligible to actually get a mortgage in the UAE. Of course, the first thing that the banks look at is your income. You need to have a minimum salary of 15,000 dirhams, equivalent to 15,000 dirhams, which is roughly around 4,000 US dollars. And for each 15,000 dirhams that you receive as salary, you can get up to 1 million dirhams of mortgage, which is roughly around 275,000 US dollars. Another question we get asked a lot is credit score and who's monitoring the credit score in the UAE. So the credit score is monitored by Etihad Credit Bureau, and you can actually check your credit score online and you can have a detailed report available to you for just a few dollars. It actually looks at your income as well as all the bills that you could potentially have in the UAE, which is your phone bills or internet bills. So make sure that everything is in order so that you can have a high credit score and be eligible for a mortgage in UAE or Dubai. People ask us if you could sell the property while there is a mortgage on it. And the answer to that, of course, is yes. And you can have two potential scenarios. First of all, your buyer could be a cash buyer. In that case, your buyer needs to buy you out from the bank. The bank needs to give you a document that confirms that the mortgage has been settled in order for the transaction to move forward and for you to transfer your title to somebody else. And there could be another question, which is your buyer could also be a mortgage buyer and potentially with another bank. So two banks need to settle this mortgage between each other, and then you need to get the related paperwork, and only then you can continue with the transaction and you can transfer your title to another buyer. But in both cases, of course, this is possible. We often get asked if you could get a mortgage on an off-plan property, and the answer to that is yes, as long as there's 50% construction completion on a project, and in most cases if it's a reputable developer, then the banks are considering these cases and you could actually apply for a mortgage. Worst case scenario, you could get a pre-approval, which is also valid for 6 months, and you would be able to understand that you are eligible for a mortgage, even if it's an under construction property. And by the time the property is completed, for example, you could carry on with the mortgage and the bank could pay off the developer. So it is very individual. If you have a case like that, let us know, and we will definitely look into it and get you the best advice on what you can do in terms of financing an off-plan property. Now, coming back to pre-approvals, because it is also one of the most important topics, and you usually get asked a lot by real estate agents whether you already have a pre-approval for a mortgage. That helps us and the buyers also to actually have a very clear understanding and vision of what the buyer is eligible for, and it narrows down the circle of the properties that we look at and we shortlist. So it makes the whole process much easier, and it's advisable to actually go for a pre-approval before you start looking for properties. In that case, like I said, you will have a very clear understanding of what you're eligible for, and then you can choose the best property for you within the limits that are set out by the bank. Let's talk about the fees. I think one of the most important things to know is how much a mortgage is going to cost you. So the fees included are usually broker fees. Sometimes you could avoid broker fees by choosing the right broker, which has a lot of partnerships with the banks, and the fees are covered by the bank. But in general, it could be between 10,000 dirhams to 1% of the mortgage value for advice on which mortgage to take. Another fee related to a mortgage is a government fee that you pay to register your mortgage with Dubai Land Department, and that is 0.25% of your mortgage value. So for example, if the property price is 1 million dirhams and you get 500,000 mortgage, then you pay 0.25% of the 500,000 that you're financing with the bank. And now the most important thing, how much is it actually going to cost you? So the mortgage rates at the moment are between 5 to 7% per annum, and that could vary depending on the borrowing rate of the UAE Central Bank and the rates that banks have on their own mortgages. It could be a fixed interest rate, for example. Some banks offer you like a 5% fixed rate for 3 years, and some banks just follow the Emirates central bank borrowing rate and then their own rate. So you need to look into it when you apply for a mortgage and choose whether you want a fixed rate or a fluctuating rate, whichever is basically better for you. Can you settle your mortgage early and without fees? The answer to that would be yes, you can settle your mortgage early, but you unfortunately won't be able to avoid the fees. So each and every bank has its own expectations towards making enough profit from you as a client. And obviously, if you settle your mortgage early, then the bank doesn't get the profit that they initially intended. And there's actually such thing called loan to interest triangle, and this is something you need to look at when you're applying for a mortgage. You need to understand what is the percentage of the interest rate and the mortgage, what's the ratio between those percentages that you're paying when you start your mortgage, because the banks most of the time would want to receive more interest during your first years of mortgage as compared to the loan itself. Let's talk about settling your mortgage early, whether if it's possible and if you could avoid paying extra fees for early mortgage settlement. Now, it is possible to settle your mortgage early. However, unfortunately, you won't be able to avoid the fees because each and every bank has its own expectations on how much money they would make while lending you money. So basically, what they want to do is they want to charge more of interest towards the beginning of your mortgage tenor compared to the loan itself. So what you need to look at is the loan to interest ratio during your payments, and you need to ask your mortgage advisor how much interest you're going to be paying and how much mortgage itself you're going to be paying during the period of your mortgage to make sure that you pay more mortgage, less interest. But if you would want to settle your mortgage early, the banks would charge you usually around 1% of the remaining mortgage value to terminate your mortgage early. But again, like I said, and this is very important, you need to make sure that you've paid a certain amount of your interest and a certain amount of your mortgage. Now let's talk about an option of refinancing your mortgage, or supposedly if you have a mortgage active with a certain bank at a certain rate, you could potentially get an offer from another bank to buy out your mortgage and give you a lower interest rate. That is possible, but that also depends, of course, on what's happening with the global economics and the UAE central bank borrowing rate. There's a financial instrument that I want to mention. This is something we use a lot with our investors. It's called equity release. If you already have a property in Dubai that you've paid for and it is yours, what you could do is you could release up to 65% of the property value from the banks. So you could borrow 65% of the price and they can give you this funds as cash towards your bank account. So you could use it as you wish, but what we usually do is we use this money to buy another properties for our clients and then rent them out, and the rent could cover the mortgage and you could potentially get a property for free. That is possible, and if you want to know more, obviously let us know and we'll explain you how this works. People also ask us, how many mortgages can you get? Can you get more than one mortgage? And the answer to that is also yes, but that of course depends on how much money you make and how much eligibility you have and what is your liabilities, what are your liabilities with the bank. So if you don't have liabilities and if you earn more than 15,000, for each 15,000 you can get up to $1 million of mortgage, and you could multiply that depending on your income. Age restrictions. You need to be at least 21 years old to be eligible for a mortgage, and up to 60 you could finance your property, but the formula is 60 minus your current age is the tenure that you can get a mortgage for, but the maximum tenure is 25 years. And this is a very sensitive subject. I've been asked that by my clients a lot. What happens if you do not pay your mortgage? Now, I would, of course, obviously advise you to always make sure that you pay your mortgage on time, but just in case something happens, God forbid, and you are not able to continue with payments, obviously the banks, the first thing they would want to do is to get in touch with you and to contact you and to understand your situation and to maybe try and find some common ground where you could potentially rediscuss your terms of the mortgage, maybe break down your payments into smaller payments, but to find some sort of a solution that works for both you and the bank. If you are not able to find a solution, then the bank would start the legal proceedings to recover their money. Obviously, that includes court, and that could potentially include auctioning off your property, selling it off at a lower rate, potentially recovering some of the amount that you've paid, if that is possible. If not, then obviously you will be losing all your money and the property is going to be forfeited and sold by the bank to recover their money. All right, I hope I covered everything related to getting a mortgage in the UAE. If I've missed something or if you have any specific question, please write us in the comments or send us a direct message. And please subscribe, because we're going to be posting a lot of interesting content about UAE and its real estate market. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.